Hare Krishna. Here is Mother Subhadra. She has come for welcoming His Holiness Bhakti Raghava Swami Maharaj. Hari Bol. Nicely keep taking. Maharaj. Okay. Anytime between 34 to 35.
Hi, Bob. How's it going?
I'm good. Good,
You
man.
moved to the hostel now?
Yes, man.
How's it?
It's good. Okay.
Did you start the section?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're doing thorax now. Heart and lungs.
కానీ ఖాళీ చేసేటో వాడు
Take your video. Hare Krishna. Today His Holiness Bhakti Raghava Swami Maharaj is coming. So we are all here trying to welcome Maharaj. Hari Bol. Keep going.
కృష్ణ హరే కృష్ణ.
Very silent. Go close and take. They are all doing kirtan. Go closer.
What, bro? Come on, bro. Interview. Prabhu, interview, bro. Prabhu, interview, bro.
Not qualified for interview, sir.
Don't worry, only one person watching.
Hare Rama,
Yes, exactly.
असिस्टेंट को कुछ हेल्प भी देने की असिस्टेंट को कुछ हेल्प देने के ऊपर है
What, bro? Hey, which class you're in? Some old fellow, right? What you do? ఇదేనా? You know what you should do? If Maharaj is a channel, mention the channel in the when you upload the video so that, or right now the stream you should have done that.
Bhakti Raghava Swami Maharaj with 3 loud and enthusiastic. Once more, Hari Bol. No light has fallen down. At least one light should fall down. Hari Bol. It is our greatest fortune to have His Holiness Maharaj here in the year 2025. I think Krishna has recognized how badly we all are situated. So Krishna is sending special mercy starting from 2025. And Maharaj is here. Maharaj, we all work in software companies. You can imagine how much in depression we are and how much we have messed up our lives. And there is a good reason you are here, Maharaj. In 2025, we want to hear from you. Mainly, Maharaj, how do we connect back to our roots? How do we, in this situation where we have to work according to somebody else's terms, day in, day out, though maybe some are earning more, some are earning less, but there is no happiness. So we want to learn from you, how we can connect back to the roots, Maharaj. And there is a reason you are here. And last time you were here, Maharaj, we did a program in one of the gated communities. That day you had inspired us by showing the videos of Malaysia and many other places all around the world where you are propagating the Varnashram system. And one amazing thing that you told last year was 50% of Prabhupada's mission is still in the making. And you spearheaded that responsibility, Maharaj. And that has inspired many of us. Some of us are doing different ways, trying to do some cow protection here and there, but still we need a lot of motivation and guidance, Maharaj. And let us welcome His Grace Sri Ram Prabhu. Where is he? Hari Bol! Let's welcome Sri Ram Prabhu. 3 loud and chanting Hari Bol! Hari Bol! Hari Bol! Can somebody offer this garland to Prabhuji, please, from here? Yes, go. Yes. And your name, Prabhuji? Please.
Jaya Dev, Jaya Dev, Jaya Dev.
Let's welcome Jaya Dev Prabhu with 3 loud and chanting Hari Bol! Hari Bol! Hari Bol! And where is Maharaj's personal servant? He was so much in touch with us, guiding us what should be done. Let us welcome Prabhuji's name. Shivanand Prabhu. Shivanand Prabhu with 3 loud and enthusiastic Hari Bol! Hari Bol! Hari Bol! Hari Bol! Hare Krishna. So we don't want to delay to hear from Maharaj. But Maharaj, this small thing, we have started this last year in June, and His Holiness Loknath Swami Maharaj came to open the center. We are so fortunate. And since then, Srila Prabhupada is sending many devotees here. And we are really fortunate. We are eagerly waiting, Maharaj, when you will come to Hyderabad and when we will get that opportunity from you. So please guide us, Maharaj. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Can everybody move 2 feet ahead? You can't see the 2 feet, that's invisible, but I can see. Yeah, please, this side also. Because don't sit on the way. Don't sit on the way. You can come inside. You can come inside. Yeah? Hare Krishna. Mic stand. Mic stand.
Pradhana player can be the closest. Whoever is playing instruments like Mridanga comes out right up front. First, okay.
watch.
Jai Shrimad Paramahamsa Sri Rajagasham Sri Kumar Shri Bhai Charan Bhakti Vedanta Swami Sri Radha Jai Bhakti Vaishnava Ki Jai Islam the founders of the language Namaste Sri Haridas Thakur Ki Samava Tavakta Ki Harinam Sankirtan Ki Maharaj Bhagavatam Ki Jai Jai Gaur Piranand All that is to be assembled Hare Krishna That is to be assembled Hare Krishna All that is to be assembled Hare Krishna All that is to see Guru and to see Guru Nanga all that is to see Guru Ki
His Holiness Bhakti Raghava Swami Maharaj ki Jai.
Shri Chaitanya Vishnu Stavitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Ramayam Dadati Swadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yudhavadanam Shri Gurum Vaishnavascha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vikramtam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Nita Shri Vishakam Sha Hare Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Vishamanusute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vanshakaratuneshya Sindhu Devasya Paritanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Radha Shri Vasari Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya 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 Om Surabhyaya Namaha 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 Mukam karoti vasa pangam langarate girimna Yakripa Vande Shri Gurum Dhanataranam Yakripa Vande Shri Gurum Dhanataranam Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Jai Shri Maharaj ki Jai Gaur Dinate So I'm very happy to be here.
Haribo.
It's always very nice, and actually the desire should be the desire of all devotees to be amongst other devotees, especially enthusiastic devotees. Very wonderful to have darshan from Mother Cow, both before entering and also inside. The subject matter that we need to address, which is actually in many, many ways very critical and very urgently needing attention. And it is not only because our founder, Acharya Sri Prabhupada, spoke about this quite extensively in terms of reviving, isn't it? Sri Prabhupada, one of the purposes of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Sankirtan movement, one of the purposes of Sri Prabhupada's International Society for Krishna Consciousness, in pursuit of the ideals of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, is actually to revive, although it probably seems practically impossible to do. But as we all know, impossible is not in our dictionary. As Prabhupada, I'm sure most of you have heard that the word impossible is in the Fool's Dictionary. So the task at hand, which has been actually building up and has been the dream and the planning since the time of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu coming down from the six Goswamis, is how to bring back actually the culture, Vedic culture, especially great challenges are there. One of the important basic components, one of the basic components of the Vedic culture, which may be difficult for most of us to understand, especially one who has been raised in modern cities, is to begin meditating upon the fact that Vedic culture is primarily an agrarian-based culture. Agrarian-based culture where it is Krishna's plan, Krishna's grand plan for the vast majority, I mean actually not only the vast majority, but for everyone to more easily and more quickly realize the primary goal and purpose of life, which is actually self-realization. That's Vedic culture that is very clearly established that after so many lifetimes, Bahunam Janmanamanti, Jnanam Mantrapadati, Vasudeva Sarvamiti, Samahatma Surya. It's rare enough to get a human form of life, even more rare to come in contact or to come to understand Vasudeva Sarvamiti, that Krishna, Vasudeva, is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We were just reading this morning in one of the purports of the Bhagavatam that it is actually fundamental for all of us if we want to put an end to the miseries that all of us, as you rightly pointed out, especially, I mean everywhere, but especially more so in the whole modern setup, modern cities that we have built up in the last, in one sense, it's quite recent. You know, this whole modernization, which is based on industrialization, which is based on urbanization, is quite recent. I mean, the way it has developed. And it is further taking us away from what is meant to be the most simple and more ideal lifestyle. So now the question is, okay, this is what you're pointing out. We have some understanding, different levels of understanding. One of the important points is that the more deeply we understand those instructions given by our founder Charya, and those instructions naturally are in keeping with our previous acharyas as well, that the lifestyle that Krishna and Balaram we have today, Sri Radha, Gokulananda. So Gokul, I mean, it brings us maybe to Vrindavan. So the model that we should all be meditating on is Vrindavan model, Vrindavan village. We should try to understand that actually the tangent in which we have been going for the last maybe 2 centuries is taking us away further and further from what is meant to be more natural. So how to reconnect, how to reverse, because it seems practically impossible to reverse. But Srila Prabhupada wanted us to reverse. One of the maybe a little shocking, not so much shocking, but it's sobering. Prabhupada made many times sobering statements. I'll share one with you. Srila Prabhupada explained how modern civilization is a doomed civilization. And if you can look up the word doom to understand that, yeah, it means like it will be finished. Modern civilization, because it is built on unsustainable principles and concepts, people analyze or study different empires that have come. The Roman Empire, the Greek Empire, Mongol Empire, etc. Empires, according to observation and study, generally last for about 200 years. And this is where we are now.
Hare Krishna.
We're at the end of approximately 200 years since the days of when the Industrial Revolution began, approximately 200 years ago, in connection with the French Revolution. It has brought about what we are seeing and experiencing and living today, which is actually taking us once again further away. So there are a number of things that we can do, of course, where we are, wherever that may be, and whatever we may be doing. But we need to understand that there are certain prescribed duties. And I think it's helpful to add the word Vedic duties. Everyone is working. Most people, of course, nowadays there's a lot of unemployment in the world, so not everyone is working. But most people are looking for work. Those are currently working. We all have to have some kind of work or occupation. But our Vedic literatures give us what is meant to be the most ideal, simple, scientific, and sustainable occupations to meet more easily our basic necessities while keeping always in mind what is the client goal of life. In modern day society, we've forgotten that characterologic state. Devotees have, of course, because of coming in contact with Vedic knowledge, Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, but we're caught up. We're caught up in the whole modern system. And and so how to deal with this situation? One of the important things, and I'm not sure if I had shared this with some devotees here before, but I'm traveling for the last 10 days and for the next 3 weeks also here in India, and then from next month going around to different countries. I've done that before, but it needs to be continued. We need to know how to, I would not say adjust, but how to help bring about some of the major changes. See, our movement is not simply a spiritual movement. Our movement is an educational movement. Our movement is a cultural movement. And our movement is a social movement. Lord Chaitanya is known as the greatest social reformer. And the social changes that we need to introduce are meant to gradually bring us back to what is meant to be the norm. There is a norm in terms of how we should live. There is a norm in terms of what kind of education we should give to our children. There is a norm in terms of how we should make money. These are based on standard Vedic sciences. They're called Chaturvidya. Chaturvidya. How many have studied Chaturvidya? How many know what are the Chaturvidya? It's understandable because it's not being taught actually in the school and colleges. It is.
We have studied Chatta Vidya. Chatta Vidya. Chatta means that we put in dustbin.
Which falls in the category of avidya. We all have heard before Srila Prabhupada mentioning how modern education, he described it in 2 words, right? Atmahana, killer of the soul. That's also a very strong statement. Acharyas, they need to make such kind of strong statements to kind of shake us up. Wake up, Jeev Jato, Jeev Jato. So we are, in many ways, actually, we are at a crossroad because 50 years ago when Srila Prabhupada spoke about these things, and he spoke quite extensively, it's all there. Matter of fact, this book here that I want to share and request. Photographer is ready. The photographer is good. Here, I'll show it. It's called Speaking About Varnashrama. You can take a picture now. Speaking about Varnashrama is bringing together all the major quotes by Srila Prabhupada on the subject matter of Vedic sociology. Varnashrama actually means Vedic sociology. We cannot avoid, when we live in society, we cannot avoid the science of sociology, which is actually meant to be based on these 4 sciences. And these are referred to actually in this book and so many other writings of Srila Prabhupada. In the introduction of this book, just for those who may not know, actually this book was commissioned by the GBC way back in 96. What is special about 1996? Huh? Yes. The Srila Prabhupada Centennial. Srila Prabhupada appeared in 1896. So 1 or 2 years before 1996, a group of devotees were selected. I was not part of the group. I came to know later about this, the outcome actually of the research. The mandate at the time was to research about community development. Community development is, of course, very important. The devotees, it's nicely explained in the introduction here, soon realized that we cannot study communities, we cannot really understand about community development unless we look at the whole concept of varnashrama dharma. And therefore, one person was selected to compile on behalf of the committee all of these books. And in the introduction, there's a very important explanation being given, which can possibly begin to address the question you were asking earlier. It's like, what to do, what to do, what to do. Those of us, those of you actually, I don't have a job in the cities. But those who are caught up in the cities, those who have families, those who have different responsibilities, what to do, the more we begin to understand that there's a particular norm, there's a particular way to make a living, to meet our different needs, etc. So in this introduction, one of the things that is nicely explaining is that Srila Prabhupada established temples in our cities for two main purposes. One was to train individuals who could become, of course, ideal devotees, but who would have a particular role to play in terms of preaching, continuing to preach, to bring more people to Krishna consciousness, number one. And the second part, which has probably never been highlighted and which remains largely, I would say, unknown to the vast majority of devotees, was that Srila Prabhupada wanted to train another group of devotees who would come, who either live in the temples or be congregational members connected with the temples, and prepare them in different ways to actually return to the agrarian lifestyle. So that means two types of training. One is to be in the city for the primary purpose of preaching. And the second is to actually explain to those who are coming to our centers and prepare them also to take up what is meant to be the norm in society. If we actually understand statements like modern civilization is a doomed civilization, modern civilization will soon come to an end, then we should start thinking, well, what should I do? How to prepare myself to deal, not only because it will come to an end, but because even at present, we're faced with so many challenges. As devotees, we're working in environments which are not at all ideal, not at all conducive for practicing Krishna consciousness. We're often, a few years back, our Minister of Education within our society had mentioned that, I think it meant something like 85% of our students are going to ordinary schools and not really getting the kind of association from their peers or from teachers. So Srila Prabhupada was very clear, and he gave many specific instructions that, that we need, in order to revive activated culture, then we need to establish, specifically Prabhupada gave that instruction, amongst others, varnashram colleges. We need to educate ourselves, just like we have become educated in doing so many things in modern day society which are actually not natural, or which are not at least in keeping with the prescribed activities. Probably majority of devotees don't know or don't realize that and that's explained in the 7th canto of Bhagavatam. Majority of householders, what is meant to be the means of livelihood, and if you know the answer, you can raise your hand. What is meant to be the means of livelihood for the vast majority of householders? Only householders should reply. What is meant to be the means of livelihood for the vast majority of householders? Someone can say? Yes. Huh? Yes. Krishi. Agriculture. Huh? Because that's actually one of the 4 sciences. See, if we don't know what the 4 Vedic sciences are, how we will ever revive Vedic culture? Vedic culture is we're doing something. We have temples. We're doing preaching. We're doing many wonderful activities, distributing prashadam, all of these things, which is in line with preaching. See, we need to understand cities, modern day cities, are meant primarily for preaching, whereas the country is meant for living. The Vedic understanding. So, in many ways, it's up to every single, I would say, congregation to look at, because we're all in different situations. We have a small group of people, some have larger, some have this resource, some have that resource, etc. In the Vedic culture, we need to strive to understand principles, basic principles. Once we understand principles, then we can build on them. And it actually begins with, the first of the 4 sciences is called Anvikshiki, which means the science of philosophy. And that is the basis of how we can begin to understand what is meant by the other 3 sciences, which are the science of education, Tradi, Dandaniti, the science of politics are there, and the 4th science, Bhakti, the science of economics. And the science of economics is Krishi Goraksha Vanijya Vaishya Karmas. Very difficult actually to some extent we can do something in cities, but the full manifestation of what is meant by the lifestyle which is advocated by Shastra and by our acharyas can only be fully or properly understood actually when we live in the country. We can only, just like we have many problems in terms of relationship. I mean, in the world today, countries are at war, and within different countries, people are not getting along. So many social problems are there. Even within our devotee communities, one of the major problems for all of us is some kind of relationship. So, this aspect of relationship is not sufficient simply to know or to understand that we are all servants of God, but we need to know, well, how are servants of God meant to function and to live within society? So, one of the fundamental principles, therefore, is that different temples, different communities need to begin the process that Prabhupada actually requested us to do 50 years ago. Maybe something like 1974, 75. If like 1975 is 50 years back, Prabhupada made the following statement that every single temple, every single project we have immediately should begin immediately for National College means so that we can be introduced to these principles, these four sciences. Now, some simple practical things we can now begin to do. Instead of using so many commercial products that are the only ones practically available on the market, we should connect with the few, we don't have so many, communities where devotees are growing fruit, where they're keeping cows, where they're beginning to make different products. You know, every day we have to take shower, we have to wash the body, we use soap, we have to brush our teeth. Well, we should know that actually all the commercial soaps and all the commercial products are actually very detrimental in so many ways, and they're all polluted. We should gradually, not sure, you know, an increasing number of devotees are doing that. Based on the awareness that we have, we should replace whatever is commercial, just like food. Food, we don't know the source of our food. Unless, practically speaking, we don't know the source of our milk as well. And if we continue eating or accepting different produce from unknown sources, then we're simply continuing to encourage a false system, a false narrative. And we are simultaneously becoming implicated and becoming polluted in so many ways. So one could make a whole list, and actually that should be part of the undertaking, I would say, of every temple situated in the cities. And there should be a plan. There should also be a plan, and this is beginning to happen on a small scale, it needs to increase. There should be a plan for some of our families to prepare themselves to actually relocate in villages. Not so easy in the beginning, because we have, I mean, the whole concept of varnashram in itself, there are many question marks. It's a very controversial topic, and to talk about it is not at all easy. It's not easy, but it is necessary because, and I always or often give the example of the term Vaishnavism. You know, Srila Prabhupada introduced Vedic culture, and it was by the great efforts of his Guru Maharaj, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who established the glories of Vaishnavas, isn't it? In that great debate that was there, I believe in Midnapur in Bengal, between the Brahmanas and the caste Brahmanas, like that, and he was successful in establishing the glories of Vaishnava practice, etc. So it began actually with Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, who at the time, when he was a young person, Vaishnavism was a dirty word. Was a dirty word. Yeah. Because in the name of Mahaprabhu, in the name of Vaishnava dress, those who were even chanting the holy name were engaged in all kinds of illicit activities, sinful activities. So since about 150 years, by the efforts of these two great personalities, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, then it was relatively or easier for Srila Prabhupada to carry this message. We have now similar kind of situation in terms of converting this, some people call it the V word, you know, varnashram, the V word. They don't even want to say the word varnashram. But varnashram is glorious when it is properly understood. Not only is it glorious, but it is, we have statements in the Bhagavatam and by Srila Prabhupada that if one is not part of Varnashrama structure, one is not even considered a human being, isn't it? Because the whole process is meant to gradually bring us from the lower modes of nature to the higher modes, so that we can take up more easily, more quickly spiritual life. So, so the message is the following. Our founder Acharya, in keeping with the previous Acharyas whom he is representing, in keeping with the Shastra, so Guru Sadhu Shastra has told us, has reminded us, and you were sharing that a little earlier also, that 50% of our mission is yet to be fulfilled. And that 50%, now I'm going to ask another question here. How many of you have heard about or are familiar with what is called the four movements or four phases? Something very important to understand. Some of you may be asking, four movements? We have one movement. Unity and diversity. We have, of course, Krishna consciousness movement is one movement, but it's like Lord Chaitanya in 5 features, right? So there's a very important essay, and I'll ask another question. How many have heard about an essay written by Srila Prabhupada called Gita Nagari? 1, 2, 3. Gita Nagari essay, not farm. Farm, more people know, but Gita Nagari is an essay that was published in 1956 in the Back to Godhead magazine. The Prabhupada had started in the year 19. When did Prabhupada start his Back to Godhead magazine? 1944. Yeah, 1944. Certain years we should know. So in this essay, very interesting topics. One of them is Prabhupada, even at that early age, before going rather to the Western countries, Prabhupada already had the vision of how he would introduce the Krishna consciousness movement. And he speaks about 4 phases. And it's very important for every single devotee, especially our readers, to understand, because this is what Prabhupada did when he went to the West. He systematically introduced these 4. And the first one, to use Prabhupada's own terminology, is called Sankirtan movement. Meaning, in the context of Prabhupada's explanation, introducing the holy name, isn't it? The chanting of the holy name, and also introducing transcendental literature, books, the holy name and books. That's the first of 4 movements. That's how we can go anywhere, as Prabhupada explained. Go anywhere, sit under a tree, start chanting Hare Krishna. Some people will come and ask you, what are you doing? It would immediately draw some attention. I mean, in the foreign country, in India, nobody's going to bother them maybe because they, whatever. But in the foreign countries, people will definitely be curious to know why this person is doing that. So that's the first, and we are doing this still after 50 years in our temple. It's one of our main activities. We're doing japa, we're doing harinam whenever it's possible, and we're distributing books. We have all these wonderful books, and we distributed over 400 sets of Bhagavatam. Jai Grantarashma Bhagavatam Ki. So that first movement is there, and it is ongoing, and it is very strong, and some people have totally, from the beginning up to now, I'm talking about some of the Prabhupada disciples, dedicated their lives fully for distributing Prabhupada's books, because he gave so much of importance. Second movement, kindly follow what I'm trying to explain, with what I'm sharing in terms of Gita Nagari. Second movement, Prabhupada called it temple worship movement. Temple worship movement, establishing places where the Archa Vigraha form of the Lord. People, they'll hear about the holy name, they'll get a book, they'll be interested, so they need a place to go. So they come to a temple. There, they are introduced to Krishna. That is the second phase. Third movement, Prabhupada called it spiritual initiation movement. Once people come, after hearing the holy name, after getting a book, then it's basically congregational preaching. We give them proper knowledge, proper understanding, proper training so that they can become committed, isn't it? So that eventually, committed means they become initiated, they become formally part of Krishna's spiritual family. That is the third movement. The fourth movement, follow carefully. Carefully follow. It's called classless society movement. Classless society movement. It's Prabhupada's term, not my term. Classless society movement. And initially that may mean, wow, we don't have to bother with classes, right? Classes.
Yeah.
But that's not what it means. Yeah. Classless society movement means that everyone within whatever varna or ashrama, because he or she is focused on serving Krishna, one is having the same goal and objective. Therefore, everyone is working towards the same objective. Everyone is engaged in seva, service, in so many different ways, but the same activity is there in terms of devotional service. Therefore, it is classless in that sense. That is actually varnashrama. That is daiva varnashrama. That is daiva varnashrama. There are two types of varnashrama. Without Krishna in the center, without the divine aspect, then it is called asuric varnashrama. Or whatever is not having Krishna, it may be spiritual, but if Krishna is not there, then it is not complete. And what is that? Whatever is not complete means it is having some tinge of being asuric. So the first three, the movements we can easily understand, we can easily see and observe, they're happening. And because most of us have been introduced to these three, we know them more easily and we feel more comfortable in dealing with them. The fourth one, classless society, varnashrama, is to this day remains alien to us. But we should know that, 1, 2, 3, 4, unless we go to 4, the complete mission will not be successful. So the big question is how to go from 3 to 4. That can only happen if we know about what Srila Prabhupada and our previous acharyas, what they had in mind. What they had in mind was, as I tried to explain earlier, is that we need to reconnect with our roots. The roots in the Vedic culture are, of course, basic practice for all of us is to perform devotional activities, to chant the holy name, to hear from Shastra, all of the things that I'm sure all of us are doing to different degrees. But also, see, there's 2 levels of dharma. Most of us are struggling to understand the first level, which is the spiritual level. Let's call spiritual swadharma. What is one of the very simple definitions of spiritual swadharma is, and you all know, Jive Swadharma, Krishna Likadas. We're all servants, the servants of Krishna. That is spiritual Swadharma. And that is not, anyone who's been practicing for any period of time, whether it's 1 year, 10 years, 50 years or more, as we have devotees within our society, will all tell you that it's not so easy to just reach the perfectional state, because it's very confidential subject matter. The other level of dharma, in a similar way, is also hidden, not so easy to grasp. And we can only begin to understand to some extent when we more closely study the activities of the residents of Vrindavan. And when we take up, as suggested by Srila Prabhupada, some specific studies where we read about, what are the basic components of the Vedic culture? And there are 3, which are absolutely essential and they're missing. And even in the cities, they're especially missing in the city, but we can begin to some extent to reconnect. What are those 3 components which are highlighted by Grandfather Vishnudev actually? They're called the 3 gifts of nature. Cows, land, and Krishna. Cows, land, and knowledge, which culminates in Krishna consciousness. Yeah. So, in the cities, we have access to knowledge. We don't have so much access to cows. And every day we have less and less access to land.
Yeah.
Because, there's more and more roads being constructed and we don't have enough space on the land. Now we're making, flyways and whatnot, and it's becoming more complicated. So in other words, this community, as any other community of devotees, let's say in our cities, where we are engaged in preaching, one is we need to understand that part of our preaching means also to introduce and to include this 4th dimension, this 4th movement. And to strive together to see how in practical ways this can be done. I mentioned a few ways. The food, we can do things in terms of food, we can do things in terms of clothing as well. Most of us are wearing synthetic cloth, which is not healthy. The textile industry, and we have one gentleman here who can speak on that as well. One of our devotees, he's promoting national textile. Textile industry is one of the most polluting industries on the planet. And we are part of that pollution. We are being polluted by that, yeah. So there's a need, Prabhupada, when he told the devotees in Mayapur, you have to also, he guided or instructed, you have to introduce also handloom. That's part of the Vedic culture. Grow your own food, make your own cloth, also make your own medicine, and build with local materials. Now, mind you, in Canada, that may be a little difficult. Or in most countries where it's cold like half the year. But these are the basic, in other words, we need to understand some of the basic concepts that are at play, and then we need, every community, which will again be different, needs to analyze and study, okay, what steps can we take? For example, going and interacting with some of our projects is very helpful. Because some of our children, for example, are convinced that milk comes from the store. How? No. Yes. So we need to, systematically bring ourselves, bring our communities to do whatever we can to again revive and reconnect. And again, on the long term, not even long term, I would say even short term, we should be thinking and planning how some of our devotees, if we understand really that the majority of our devotees and the majority of the population are meant to be living in the country, if we really understand what that means, then we'll start making plans on how to do that. In one conversation, which is included in the book here, devotees would argue with Srila Prabhupada, or they would present different arguments. I mean, they would not directly argue with their spiritual master, but they would say, Prabhupada, because Prabhupada was saying these cities are not going to be there. One time we walked with him in Boston, he lifted his cane and he said, you see these buildings? They won't be there after a while. Prabhupada was that convinced. And then the devotees were presenting different arguments for Prabhupada, and the cities have been around for a long time, and it seems like they're going to be around for a long time too. And then Prabhupada said, let that happen, but with the knowledge that is there in Shastra, Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, we need to demonstrate. That's part of the preaching. At this junction, extremely important part of the mission, we need to demonstrate how one is meant to live connected with cows, land, Mother Nature, and with the primary goal and objective of cultivating higher knowledge, raising our consciousness to the point of Krishna consciousness. So there's no, that I know, I mean, the closest manual, guide manual for doing this, I would say is this book here, which is meant to be read and studied. I highly recommend that our devotees, they read this like once a week. It's like we read the Lilamrita. Prabhupada's Lilamrita, if we want to know about Srila Prabhupada, without reading the Prabhupada Lilamrita, it will take us a long time. We might hear something here and there. But if we systematically read certain literatures, and in particular this one, we begin to understand what Varnashram is all about and why Srila Prabhupada, as our founder Acharya, made such a very heavy statement that 50% of our mission is yet to be accomplished. I mean, that's very significant. And all of us, we are duty bound. If we're followers of, and we should be, of our founder Acharya and our previous Acharyas, we are duty bound to be part of and to help establish the mission and the vision of our founder Acharya. So, my humble request is, try to avail of this book. It's actually, for those who have access to the folio, it's on the folio. It's in the database. Who has access to the folio database? Who knows what the folio is? Folio. Huh? We don't know. There is all of the lectures, all of the books, all of the conversations of Srila Prabhupada have been put together many years ago by what is called the Bhaktivedanta Archives. Hare Krishna. Bhaktivedanta Archives is a very important aspect where one can actually avail of all of this literature. It's called database. You can Google it, I suppose. And I think they have a special concession for Asian countries. I don't think it's so much expensive, but everything is there, including this book. And so, because it may be difficult to get physically all of the books, so the folio is a very, very practical way to also do some research and to study different subject matters. It's very user friendly, and you can just a little bit like read Google some word and you get all kinds of information. In a similar way, the folio I use it all the time, and many devotees use it as well. So this book and also the essay Gita Nagari is also in that folio I was mentioning earlier. You know, Krishna consciousness in itself is huge. I mean, to even know, to begin to understand about Krishna, there's so many aspects to understand about the Vedic culture, to understand about Varnashrama is not something that we can in one sitting. It takes time, but it takes, there needs to be a desire on the part of all of us to actually, this is described actually in Shastra, for a disciple to actually succeed, to be successful, he must learn, he must try to understand and fulfill actually the desires and intent of his spiritual master. So Sri Prabhupada is actually the founder Acharya of our society. He is our, in many ways, primary Shiksha Guru. We read his books every day. We hear his lectures. We should try to hear. I strongly recommend actually that devotees try to hear directly some of the wonderful lectures that are available actually on the internet by our founder Acharya. And in so many of these lectures, and practically in all of the books, especially in the purports of the Bhagavatam, there are so many references to Varnashram. So even though Varnashram may seem vague even now, and it is actually to most devotees, please be assured that Prabhupada would not have spoken about this if he did not feel it was something very important, number one, and also if he was not convinced that it is possible for us also to make some tangible progress in that direction. So my humble request is, yes, connect with, we have a ministry here in India, something that does not exist anywhere in the world. There is no other country other than India which has a Varnashram ministry. I'll ask the question I asked yesterday. How many of you are familiar with the term IDVM India? Congratulations. Okay. IDVM means ISKCON Dharma Varnashram Ministry India, India, because it was created exactly, it means 16 years ago, 2009. It has its office in Srila Mayapur, and the president, two co-directors are one devotee who's part of a disciple, Master Bush Prabhu, who's the chairman or the general secretary of the ISKCON Bureau here in India, and the other co-minister is devotee by the name of Venu Gopal, who is based in Srila Mayapur, where the office is. You can write actually to them, you can get different information, etc. You can invite Venu Gopal Prabhu, he'll be happy to come and speak with you. He specializes in explaining, elaborating on the whole concept of Varnashram Dharma. So these are the two levels of Dharma. You see, I'll end on this point, and we can hopefully have a little time for some questions or comments. Dharma is something that distinguishes humans from non-humans. If we don't know about Dharma, we're not human. We're not properly developed as human beings, isn't it? And there are two levels of Dharma, just like we're all sitting here today. Who's sitting here? The spirit, soul, and the body is sitting here, but it's also having this material body. So we have these two realities, spirit, soul, and the body. So we have to deal every day, isn't it, with these two realities. So Vedic culture is teaching us, what is the best way to deal with these two realities of life? Natural and spirit. That's the instruction, 7.2, Bhagavad Gita 7.2, to understand the difference between matter and spirit, the origin of both, and their interaction. Yeah. So I'm making the point here that Dharma is meant to be understood on these two levels. In terms of spiritual Swadharma, the original nature, the original duties and responsibilities of the soul, number one, which is bhakti, devotional service. Secondly, which evades us today in modern society, material swadharma, what is meant to be the more simple, more natural, original, and scientific duty and activity, which is more natural, more original, materially, how we should be living, what work we should be doing, etc. So these two are eternal, actually, principles. And they are very deep sciences which we need to systematically learn and learn to balance, actually, isn't it? We're doing this every day, actually. We have this body, we have to look after this body, we have to feed this body, we have to give sufficient rest. Program shouldn't go too late, so we don't go to bed so late, because there's Mangalarti the next day. It's supposed to be Mangalarti the next day. There is always Mangalarti the next day. So learning to balance. So in many ways, this fourth movement is addressing the material swadharma, whereas the other three, to a large extent, are addressing the spiritual swadharma. Now we have an imbalance, actually. We have an imbalance amongst ourselves, amongst our devotees, or within our society, in terms of we've developed the first three to a large extent, but the fourth one has been, for whatever different reasons, much less attended to. But now it's I would say high time and very critical that we give it the time that it deserves and that it is needed as well. I will stop here. You have been a very attentive audience. Thank you very much. Congratulations to all of you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Anybody has any questions? So we
Krishna Maharaj, Pranam. Thank you so much for the class. Very silly question, Maharaj. What was this?
We take all types of questions.
We started with Asuropya Namaha. I was curious.
Surabhyaya.
So that's Surabhi how?
Yes, from the Surabhi. Yeah, in Sanskrit, if we address, then the word changes a little bit, but it's referring to the original spiritual cow in Goloka, whose name is Surabhi. Yeah. So that is in Shastra. There are prayers offered to Mother Surabhi. In many ways, the second phase, not the second phase, but this 50% of Prabhupada's mission is meant to be focused on cow. So that's why every day, whenever I give a class or do something, I have my feedback. This is Om Surabhi. Yeah. So it helps me to remind myself of what is most important, and also it kind of like helps to introduce for those who may be less familiar. And we should know that the focus of to reestablish this 50% of Prabhupada's mission has to begin. There's a quote actually in the book, another book maybe less known, called The Life of the Bhagavad. How many know this book, The Life of the Bhagavad? A few more, not so many more, but yeah. In this book, The Life of the Bhagavad, written by Srila Prabhupada before going to the Western countries, and I paraphrase, he mentions those who are serious in bringing about solutions to the many complicated problems of the world today must first give their attention to the protection of cows. Again, because we're so far removed from these basic principles that make up our Vedic culture, we may not immediately understand it, what our acharyas do. That's why we have to hear from them, and we have to discuss, and then we can also gradually understand more. Hare Krishna.
Maharaj, there is a little extension.
Huh?
There is a little extension question.
Okay.
I went to Norway, Maharaj.
You went to
Norway.
Norway.
To work.
Okay.
And I lived there about 6 years. And
Six.
the goal when I was starting to Norway was, after I come back, I used to tell Leela Prabhuji, there is no more stopping in Hyderabad, but go straight to the village. It is Ahmedabad district where your holiness was there. And I secured some land there with the intention of spending time there, going permanently to there. Then I came back, and with the Grihastha life and complications, it looks like I can never get out of this rat race. But nevertheless, there is this desire to go there and settle down there and make the life simple.
Yes. Well, first desire should be there, and if the desire is strong enough, in due course of time, Krishna will help, because many people have come out of the rat race, and if others can do it, why not you?
Swami also blessed like this, and it's someday. Thank you, Maharaj.
Jai Krishna. Yes. Okay, Frank is coming. He had a question. Yes. Yes.
I have a question.
Yes. That's why you have the microphone.
So this body is not like clothes, right? We change in different lives, but like
Yes.
our soul if how is it made or created?
How is our soul like?
Yeah, meaning in alive stuff. Made.
Like body is created, how is soul created?
Yeah. So how is soul created?
Okay. Good question. Actually, the soul is eternal. This body is not eternal. This body is created at a certain time based on the modes of material nature. Means, according to our previous activities, once coming in the material world, we perform different activities, and based on those activities, we get different types of bodies. But the soul is different. The soul doesn't change. And the soul is just like now you're, what is your age? 9, yes. So the soul is eternally youthful. The soul doesn't grow old. The soul is eternally existing. It is intimately connected with Krishna, who has created the soul, the Atma, and the soul is, just like in the Bible, it is mentioned that we are created as the image of God. So Krishna, when he appears 5,000 years ago, he appears like human. He appears as a human being. He has a human form. So the soul has also that similar form, but it is completely eternal and always useful. And that is how Krishna, he's described as Satchit Ananda. You know what is the meaning of Satchit Ananda? Okay, I'll tell you. Krishna, Ishvara Parama Krishna, Satchit Ananda Vigraha,
Anadil Govinda, Sarva Karana Karana.
Yes. So Krishna, he is Satchit Ananda. Sat means eternal. Chit means full of knowledge. If you're full of knowledge, you don't have to go to school. And Ananda, full of happiness. So when we become devotees, we begin to awaken our soul, our eternal soul. And if we practice nicely, then this body we have now, for whatever amount of time we will have this body, and it will grow old. Then at one point we have to leave this body, but if we nicely practice, we will not again have another material body. We will again regain, revive our. Okay.
I had one more question.
One more question. Wow.
I don't know if this is an easy question or
Okay, I'll let you know.
so for how to know there's God Krishna in the Murti idol.
How do we know?
Yes.
How do we know
How
what?
do we know Krishna is in the idol?
The deity.
Oh, that we cannot understand ourselves. We have our method to know and to understand is by accepting what is given to us by the acharyas and what is given actually in Shastra. At the same time, if we purify our consciousness, we can directly come to know and even speak to the deities on the altar. There are many examples, many wonderful examples, like the Goswamis of Vrindavan, because they were totally purified in consciousness, they could speak to the deities. And Prabhupada explains also, as we practice nicely Krishna consciousness, then like the Goswamis in Vrindavan, we can also speak, just like we're speaking now. And when we'll speak to the deities, we won't need a microphone. Yeah? I think somebody else says.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you for emphasizing the 50% of unaccomplished Prabhupada's movement
Yes.
you mentioned. So, my question is, many devotees have some land or some farmland, but like myself, we also have some ancestral
Yes.
farmland. But I'm trying to take help from IDBM or Subhash Palekar and Vijay Ramarao, who's promoting cow-based farming.
Yes.
So, is there any consultancy provided by IDBM so that devotees can cooperate and do this agriculture and distribute these products to devotees and temples? So, is there any consultancy or whom we can approach?
Another good question. Yes, IDBM actually is there for the purpose of reaching out and helping the devotees in various ways. IDBM, although it's been around for, I mentioned, the last 16 years, because it's such a great undertaking, to address this 50% of Prabhupada's mission. The mandate of IDBM actually is to go in the villages, to encourage devotees to at least visit villages and whenever it's possible, help devotees prepare to actually make that kind of shift or to start activities which are connected with, let's say, village life. There's a need for IDBM to actually be present in every single state of India, which is not actually the case now. Best is to open communication with, they have a website, you can write to them, you can visit, you can make an appointment with devotees who are active, especially this devotee I mentioned earlier, Prabhu, he visited Mayapur, yeah, he's based in Mayapur. And the whole plan originally was that actually every state should have a state coordinator to promote the various activities, and that should be filtered down to every district. There should be a district coordinator. So there's a great need actually for, we very much welcome, Bhakti will be very happy. As a matter of fact, he has, when he got connected which was when the ministry was started. He was just like coming to Krishna consciousness. He got involved from the very beginning in what is called some training kind of team. In other words, creating Varnashram VRT, Varnashram research teams. This is something I'll just share here. Actually, there's some basic information that you can get from him. Some guidelines that anywhere within, let's say, here in India, because it's a national history, devotees can come together by reading this book. He has already a number of these teams, and he's keeping connection. And in this way, he is helping devotees learn more about, in a practical way, what they can do and how they can deal with their particular situation. So Varnashram research teams is one important way by which devotees who want to know more about what is Varnashrama, how we can apply it in our particular area, whether it's the country or the city. Varnashram research teams is a very nice tool or way by which we can educate ourselves and also get some, become connected with the ministry and get some guidance. Okay? Yes.
Hare Krishna Maharaj,
Yes.
Dandavad Pranam. Maharaj, I had, like in my beginning days of Krishna consciousness, when I was reading this point, I got some doubt. Like when we say cow is like the previous, or we can say the next life of a cow will be a human being.
Yes.
That means if you see in the evolutionary cycle,
Yes.
then cow may be considered as a lower species than human being. Does it mean that cow is a lower species than human being?
It's a difference. We don't.
Meaning 84 lakh species.
Well, cow is animal. Human is human. Animal is animal. We are also animal. In philosophy, we learn that man is a rational animal. Supposed to be rational. Not many may be, but so cow is in line in terms of different species, and from that cow body, the natural sequence is that the jiva, the living entity in that cow body, automatically gets a human birth. Yes. So you could say it's lower. It's a different species. In one sense, we don't like to say lower because we worship the cow. And as a matter of fact, she is honored. This very well-known verse, Namo Brahmanya Devaya, Go Brahmana. We first actually think about cow, even before Brahmana, because Brahmanas ultimately depend on cow. So in that sense, you could say we say it's different, it's a different species, and yes, that is the Vedic evolutionary cycle. Yeah.
And also we see many Hindus also, they very much worship cow.
Yes.
They they may not be Krishna conscious, but they love to serve the cows, and they have that kindness towards cows.
Yes, yes.
So they save the cows, give
Yes.
them treatment and all.
Yes.
So what will it be like having a spiritual result for, because we consider Go Brahmana it's a very high cadre.
What's the last point?
Will they have those who are serving cows?
Yes.
Will they have any spiritual result? Because cow is
Yes,
considered
yes,
very
yes.
great.
Because cows are very dear to Krishna. Anyone who is serving whoever may be dear to Krishna, then they will, in their next life, even in this life, they will get all kinds of benefits by doing that. Yes.
Hare Krishna. I just want to answer the devotee's question. He was specifically asking about training.
No training.
So we have a farm community called Kamyavanam nearby. We do train farmers. Actually, we have trained hundreds of farmers, and we have a model of 5-layer farming. Also, we have grown 6 varieties of paddy this year. So lot of people, farmers, devotees come and learn. They come and stay, and we do consultation for free.
Not that we don't want you to go to Mayapur, but there is a place here close.
No, I'm saying we work with the Vijayaram Garu closely. He comes to a farm and do regular trainings. So anybody has farms, we are here to help you. It's more practical. Thank you.
Yes, yes. That would be great. In other words, you have something in your backyard, kind of. Yes, thank you for adding that. Yes? Is there a next question or we don't? Okay, Mike has to come here.
Any questions? Yeah, we'll take more questions.
Yeah, we can take one or two.
Thanks, Maharaj.
Yes.
Maharaj, two questions I have.
Two.
Related only.
Everyone has two questions.
First is that from practical point of view, what are the things that we can take up? Yes, the big projects is definitely we wanted to go there, but in our day-to-day life, being in cities, what is that you can do such that we can get to the level where our consciousness is also towards that varnashrama which you are talking about. That's first question, Maharaj.
Let me answer the question first before we go into. I mentioned a few points. Change your soap, change your different things that you're using. Try to get food that is actually grown from devotee grown food. Prabhupada mentioned how food that is grown by devotees and offered to Krishna increases in value 100 times. 100 times more the value of food that is grown by devotee with love and devotion. By educating devotion service, beginning with chanting the holy name, hearing on a regular basis, associating with devotees, all of the regular things that we're meant to do, gradually purifies our consciousness. With a purified consciousness, we will be able to know and to understand, okay, what additional practical things we can do on a daily basis, without necessarily, as you right, they're just not ready to jump into a big project. And we don't expect that to happen. So it should be a gradual type of process where we begin, where we at least have some understanding that this is something, seems to be something very important. 50% of anything is major. And there are literatures and there are references where more information can be had, and in this way we can find out more practical ways. Your second question, real quick.
Yes, Maharaj. Maharaj, with regards to Gomutra,
Yes.
that is the Amrutam in this, that's what is told. But there is a dogma that lot of people do not want to take it, but they don't take it. That is having so much of medicinal value which will keep our body fit. Is that correct? And how we are promoting that?
Okay, the question about Gomutra. You should speak to people who are Ayurvedic doctors, because for some people it may not be what is the best, depending on the different natures of our body. So this is kind of like a medical question. There is definitely, according to Shastra, there are so many additional benefits, to both cow urine, cow dung, but specifically in terms of taking that as medicine, it is medicinal. It is best to consult with a qualified Ayurvedic doctor. And yes, I'm not an Ayurvedic doctor. Okay. Yes. Maybe one last question. Mataji are very quiet. No questions.
One Mataji, yeah, we can give it.
Okay.
Hare Krishna, Maharaj, Dandavat Pranam. I just want to know that you just mentioned about trying to use devotee grown food.
Yes.
So I just want to ask in general to anyone who whether we can get access to devotee grown food in Hyderabad.
Yes.
If anyone is doing it and can be about their contact.
Okay. I don't have a list of such individuals. And I think Sriram again might be in a position to know a bit more about that because they are going through sometimes some of that food may be available, but we definitely need more. You know, there should be a whole, what is it, a whole network. We should actually create, as devotees, a network whereby I know that in Bangalore there's one devotee who is making organic food available. I believe a lot of that is devotee grown as well. And just very close, a place called Tupkur, that's a little far away from Hyderabad. We should have something similar in Hyderabad or greater Hyderabad so that devotees can have more access. Now, many devotees actually, wherever you're living, you can begin to do something. You know, we can start to grow some flowers on your balcony, even if you don't have such big space. You can grow a few tomato plants so that you can begin at least on a small scale. But the point you're making is that if there are devotees who are growing and who can make it available, that network, I believe, needs to be created. If it is existing, I'm not aware of it. It's something that, again, like Sri Prabhu, their community is not so far away. They are growing food, grains, vegetables, fruits, largely for their community, but sometimes they may have some excess, and there may be other devotees doing something similar as well. I'm very